Multiverse pre-Civil War. The skies are calm over a half-built Avengers compound. Tony Stark stands on a terrace, looking out past the trees. His suit is half donned, arc reactor humming quietly. But there's a weight in his gaze. Something feels off. His HUD pings an anomaly. A tear in the atmosphere above Earth's low orbit. Stark raises an eyebrow. We cut to space. A rift is opened. Metal rips across the void like a wound in fabric. And through it descends a battered makeshift craft. What remains of a life raft. Inside are survivors from another world. The Ultimates. Raimi's Spider-Man slumps near the back, his mask half torn. Blade's sword is sheathed in silence. Wolverine has claw marks across his chest, still healing. Ghost Rider's flame flickers low. Hulk breathes deeply, green again, almost feral from recent trauma. Strange sits unconscious, his cloak shielding Wong. Daredevil holds his billy club tightly, as if it's the only thing anchoring him. Punisher and Fury share a cold nod. Soldiers in yet another war. Thor and Iron Man, not the MCU ones, but the custom 2000s versions, sit across from Captain America, the real one, the man out of time. Their expressions carry the scars of 5 wars. These are not invaders. They are remnants. Back at the Avengers compound, Tony Stark mobilizes instantly. Within hours, the life raft is brought down under shield and Wakandan stealth retrieval. We transition to a stark white room, reinforced vibranium walls. Inside, the Ultimates are caged, not as prisoners, but as unknowns. Friday pings diagnostics. Unknown quantum particles. Energy signatures inconsistent with Earth. 199999. Tony Stark stares at Raimi's Peter Parker. You're Spider-Man, but you're not my Spider-Man. Peter's tired. Not just in body, but in soul. That's what they always say. Steve Rogers' MCU enters. I think they've been through hell. Tony shoots him a look. So have we. Tensions rise quickly. Thor 2000 steps forward, but Wanda, still alive here, raises a defensive hex. Doctor Strange MCU appears from a portal, reading energy fields like cosmic fingerprints. He can sense it. These beings have touched death, and something deeper. Then a surge of light erupts. The lights in the compound flicker. All sound cuts. The walls begin to melt, reality bending not from magic but design. And then he appears, the Beyonder, a being not of matter but of intention. His form is shifting, a man in a white suit, a cosmic entity, a child's drawing of a god. All at once, he speaks with layered tones. They came through the fire as I planned. You call them survivors, I call them victors. Panic erupts in the room. Tony raises his hand, the repulsor flaring, but the Beyonder flicks it away like a leaf in wind. Doom, Kang, Galactus, Thanos, Ultron, all pawns on my board. Tess, for them. He turns to the Ultimates, and suddenly, they are suspended in time. I forged your pain into purpose. Each battle, a crucible. Each loss, a sharpening. Steve, MCU, demands answers. Why? The Beyonder doesn't even look at him. Because your world is next, and with that, he vanishes. In the fallout, debates break out between the two factions. Tony believes they must contain the Ultimates. They're unstable, too dangerous. Their universe fell, and bringing them here could destabilize their own. Steve disagrees. They didn't choose this, and if what that thing said is true, we're all already part of it. Strange consults the multiversal tapestry, an artifact only seen once before in Multiverse of Madness. It shows tendrils of cosmic fate intertwining, and every thread leads to one constant. The Ultimates universe was targeted again and again, engineered. Nick Fury, 2000, steps forward. It wasn't fate, it was training. He tells them the truth of his death, of Ross's betrayal, of watching comrades fall over 5 wars, of Doom's betrayal, of Ultron's cold rain, of the Beyonder's echo in every shadow. The MCU Avengers begin to understand. Cap 2000 gives a rousing monologue. No shield, just words. We didn't survive for revenge. We survived to protect others from suffering the same fate. We've lost Spider-Man. We've lost whole cities, worlds. But we're still here, and we won't let another Earth fall. Thor 2000 and Hulk share a solemn nod. Blade quietly loads silver-tipped bullets. Punisher straps in his old war gear. Ghost Rider's flame roars back to life. Wolverine simply growls. Where's this Beyonder bastard hiding? Peter Parker's mask lies on a console. Raimi's Spider-Man is dead, or so they think. We zoom out from the base, from Earth, from the solar system, and we see the multiversal walls ripple. In the cracks of reality, a heartbeat. The Ultimates stood before the rising sun of a world not their own. The air was thinner. The skyline was unfamiliar. Stark Tower, sleek, monolithic, glaring, loomed above them like a monument to a future they never fought for. Tony Stark was the first to act. A fleet of Iron Legionnaires, sleeker than any armor the Ultimates had ever seen, descended from the sky like angels of precision and protocol. The Ultimates, exhausted from the Beyonder's collapse of their Earth, didn't resist. For all we know, Stark said, scanning them behind tinted glasses, your multiversal anomalies carrying viruses, timelines, pathogens. Hell, you could be ticking cosmic bombs. And just like that, the Ultimates were detained in a hidden sword facility deep beneath the Rockies. Each member of the Ultimates was placed into individualized quantum stasis chambers designed for beings far beyond human capacity. Their powers were dampened, their movements monitored. Thor glared silently at the walls, his heart aching for a Mjolnir he no longer wielded. Wolverine paced like a caged animal, his claws itching. Hulk, reverted to Bruce Banner after a painful transformation, whispered to himself, "They think this holds me forever." Daredevil meditated, but his senses screamed against the artificial silence. Blade growled, "This isn't justice. This is fear with a government badge." Doctor Strange, now stripped of most magical access in this realm, tried to feel the arcane currents but found them filtered. Nick Fury, the shadow that survived every war, sat alone in silence, planning. The only one missing, Spider-Man. And no one spoke of him. Not yet. Stark met with each of them. With Thor, he questioned what brought them here. Thor only said fate. With Strange, Stark demanded to know how multiverse breaches kept occurring. Strange replied, cryptically, "Because you keep pretending the sky is the ceiling." With Fury, the tension was highest. "You're dead in our world," Stark said. Fury smiled. "I'm dead in a lot of worlds." Stark wasn't alone. T'Challa stood in the observation deck, arms crossed. "You detain warriors who defeated gods. Why?" "Because they've fought monsters we haven't even dreamed of yet," Stark answered. "And something tells me they're just the trailer." The MCU Avengers, splintered even before Civil War, gathered to debate what to do. Steve Rogers. "They're us, from another road. They've earned trust." Rhodey. Or they're time bombs with capes. Natasha. "Something drove them here. We should be finding out what, not treating them like prisoners." Sam Wilson. "What if their Earth is gone because they lost control?" Tony made the call. "We'll give them 1 week. After that, we decide if they're guests or threats." Meanwhile, in the deepest cell where magic still held sway, Strange felt something. A flicker. A pulse in the mirror dimension. He entered trance, and for a moment saw him. A figure in white standing among galaxies that moved like sand through his fingers. The Beyonder. Hello again, Stephen. You passed my tests, but the exam has just begun. Back in his cell, Wolverine began scratching a message into the wall. Not the end. Not yet. And as a small dimensional crack formed behind Fury's chair, glowing faintly, he smiled and whispered, "About damn time." Strange convulsed within his containment, celestial light bursting from his eyes before he levitated, runes around him shattering into shards of glowing script. The alarms blared, but he was no longer present. His mind shifted into the astral plane. There, Strange confronted the Beyonder, a presence woven from galaxies and silence. The Beyonder didn't speak, he revealed. Visions overwhelmed Strange. Doom's escape from the negative zone. Kang's time-bending manipulations. Galactus's hunger nearly extinguishing the cosmos. Thanos erasing half of existence. And Ultron fracturing the multiverse. Every event in the Ultimates' history had been orchestrated by this cosmic puppet master. I wanted to see if mortals could resist the lure of godhood, the Beyonder murmured. And they did, barely. Now, the final control. Earth 616. The final test, he said. You, all of you, versus them. Strange gasped. You want us to fight the MCU Avengers? No, the Beyonder responded. I want you to surpass them, or be erased. Back in the physical world, Nick Fury, 2000s, had already escaped. Of course he had. He slipped through blind spots and reached an old S.H.I.E.L.D. server room, pulling up long-buried files. Project Final Test. Access denied, even for him. Strange. Come back, dammit. Tony, Steve, and T'Challa stood above Strange's breached chamber. He's in the astral, Tony muttered. Let him speak, Steve countered. We need answers more than containment. And what if the answers demand war? T'Challa asked. Strange returned, his body steaming from otherworldly energy. He summoned a golden white projection. Earth shattered into shards. Realities woven into war. The Ultimates facing perfect versions of themselves. He wants us to prove we're the best of our kind, Strange gasped. If we fail, he ends everything. The containment cells felt less like prison and more like pre-graves. Stark watched Blade sharpen his sword. Ghost Rider meditated in fire. Wolverine paced. Hulk sat in still silence. Captain America stared at his gloved hands. They're not them, Tony whispered, but they are. MCU Steve entered. That's my shield he has. Not anymore, Tony said. That's a man who fought Kang, Galactus, Thanos, Doom, and lived. We haven't. Maybe we're not ready for what they are. Elsewhere, Nick Fury, 2000s, hacked through MCU S.H.I.E.L.D. networks, heading toward files left behind by his MCU counterpart. Funny how we both keep dying and coming back, he muttered. Stark convened a hologram council. Banner, Strange, T'Challa. Arguments flared. They're unstable, Strange said. They've survived monsters, Banner countered. Why now? T'Challa asked. Inside the cells, bonds formed. Logan and Blade shared war stories. Ghost Rider stood silently until Hulk growled. Someone's watching. At Kamartaj, Wong uncovered a hidden sigil, pulsing with unstable light. He chanted a spell and saw the Beyonder beyond all things, smiling. This is a test, Wong whispered. Tony sat across from 2000's Cap. You led your world, Cap responded. We survived every god and monster thrown at us, and it was all preparation for this. As the Ultimates slept, a voice whispered, you rose, defiant. Now prove yourselves, or perish. The Ultimates and MCU Avengers stood in the same room. You're saying this was all a setup? Sam Wilson asked. Not setup, tested, Fury replied. The Beyonder's been watching since Doom. So we fight each other, Thor asked. We stand together, Cap 2000s answered. And if we refuse, Steve MCU asked. Then he erases it all, Strange said. Above Earth, in the void, the Beyonder observed. 2 Earths hovered, one whole, one flickering. Let the test begin, he whispered. The world paused. Across cities, jungles, oceans, a vibration hummed. Doctor Strange appeared at sword, pale. It's not an anomaly. He's coming. The sky cracked open. The Beyonder descended. Not walking, not flying, but existing. Galaxies shimmered across his form. Stark screamed orders. Defense satellites activated, missiles targeted, then all gone, erased from existence. The Ultimate cells dissolved into light. They stood together in the ruins of Avengers Tower, now twisted and scorched. The Beyonder hovered. You are variables. We're not your toys, Cap snapped. You are fire, the Beyonder replied. Now burn your makers. From behind the ruins stepped the first wave. Avengers, MCU versions, but altered. Their eyes glowed white. Perfected puppets. Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Widow, Hawkeye. Not just copies, Strange whispered. Optimized. And then it began. Hulk slammed Hulk. Blade dueled Blade. Cap met Cap in a duel of soul versus precision. Ghost Rider rode fire through lightning. Explosions lit the sky. But this wasn't a battle for glory. It was to break them. The earth beneath changed. Mountains into towers. Oceans into circuits. Forests into wires. The Beyonder was remaking reality. This was his world now. In the distance, Nick Fury, 2000s, appeared in a cloak, eyes glowing. There's a way out, he told Stark. What? A lifeboat, he pointed to the sky. The ground quaked as the Beyonder's constructs reshaped reality, forming a world no longer tethered to Earth's natural laws. His towers loomed over crumbling cities, pulsating with blinding cosmic energy. The sky above fractured like stained glass, reflecting alternate versions of the world that might have been. This was not home. This was a crucible. The battlefield was a graveyard of legacies. The Ultimates, bruised and bleeding, dragged themselves behind fractured buildings, broken pillars of the ruined MCU Avengers Tower, towering above them like a mocking monument. The tower, once a beacon of hope, was now a perversion of itself, coated in platinum alloys and etched with runes of the Beyonder's design. Inside, Nick Fury coordinated a last-ditch effort. A contingent of surviving sword engineers and rebel Stark tech specialists worked tirelessly on what Fury cryptically called the Ark. It's not a ship, Fury clarified to Tony Stark, 2000s. It's a dimensional capsule, one shot. We get everyone in, we shoot it through the void, and we hope. Tony scanned the machine. A swirling core of light, Stark arc reactors powering interdimensional coils, and something older humming beneath the steel. Fragments of the Tesseract and shattered Timestone circuitry. Where'd you get this? Fury gave a tired smile. I've been collecting pieces since Avengers 2. Guess I always figured we'd need a parachute when the world ended. Above the tower, the Beyonder's throne watched as the Ultimates faltered. Below, the Ghost Avengers continued their relentless assault. Hulk clashed with Hulk, both nearly unrecognizable under the weight of cosmic augmentation and battle rage. Blade stood toe-to-toe with Widow, her soulless precision nearly matching his fury. Cap blocked strike after strike from an MCU-led Steve Rogers simulation, flawless, tireless, devoid of doubt. Doctor Strange 2000s pulled Wong to safety, retreating through a shattered sling ring portal into the Sanctum ruins. "We're losing," Wong coughed, blood trailing from his mouth. "No," Strange whispered, watching Spider-Man's old web still fluttering on the ceiling beam, a ghost of a friend who once saved the universe. "We're still alive." Then the Beyonder finally spoke aloud. "Do you know why you are here?" The sound was like thunder through glass. "You were not chosen for greatness," he said, floating downward. "You were chosen because you endure. That is your power. Not brilliance, not strength, not purity. Endurance." He waved a hand, and the ground beneath Iron Man and Ghost Rider collapsed, sending them tumbling into a canyon of mirrors, showing their worst failures. Tony cradling Yinsen, Johnny weeping before a burned church. "You survived Doom. You survived Galactus. You survived Thanos." The sky cracked open to show each villain in flickering memories. But survival is not transcendence. He pointed a single finger toward the Ark. "You flee. You build arcs, lifeboats, timelines, excuses. But in the end, your fear defines you." In a lower chamber beneath the tower, the Ultimates gathered, broken, scorched, angry. Tony slammed his fist against the wall. "We're not just running, we're regrouping." Ghost Rider, flame barely burning, rasped, "Then we need time. Buy me 60 seconds, and I'll clear a path." Wolverine growled, "I'll clear you a path." Daredevil and Blade nodded. They didn't need speeches. Cap looked at Strange. "That lifeboat, will it hold?" Strange exhaled. "No, but it'll fly." As Strange, Wong, and Fury activated the Ark, the others stormed the base of the Beyonder's throne tower. Hulk roared, now fully green, fully unleashed. No longer Smart Hulk, no longer gray, just wrath. His body expanded with gamma rage, every footstep shaking, reality's cracked foundation. He held the line as the others pushed forward. Thor, 2000s returned. Battered, but not broken. Lightning scorched the sky as he rejoined the fight. Twin hammers in hand, Cap and Iron Man stood together one last time. "No comeback speech?" Tony asked. Cap shook his head. "Just a warning." They launched upward, Iron Man burning through Ultron-enhanced drone legions. Cap deflecting laser blasts with a shield now embedded with vibranium, Uru, and remnants of the Power Stone circuitry. The Beyonder descended. He was no longer testing them. He was finishing them. But Strange, beneath the Ark's engines, whispered a spell lost to time, drawing on the raw essence of the dead Watchers. The residual magic of Wanda Maximoff's sacrifice from a world long gone, and the threads of Spider-Man's last cosmic plea. The Ark glowed. The final moment was chaos. Hulk throws Thor into the Ark. Blade lifts a wounded Ghost Rider as a fire trails behind. Cap nods at Tony, "Go." But Tony shakes his head. "We built this world together. We go together." Wolverine, bloodied and beaten, dives in last. The Ark surges forward, a cosmic spear into the unknown. As the Beyonder reaches out, trying to grasp their escape, Strange casts a final curse. "Let history remember their names." With a blinding flash, the Ark vanishes. Silence. The Beyonder floats over a world he now fully controls. He does not smile. He only watches. "Let the game continue," he says. The sky closes. Earth is gone. When the Ultimates awoke, it was to the sound of wind. Not war drums, not screams, not Beyonder sermons booming across shattered skies. Just wind. Captain America, 2000s, sat up first, his shield resting beside him in a patch of tall, golden grass. He squinted at the horizon. This wasn't any Earth, he remembered. A calm blue sky stretched overhead. Birds sang. Somewhere in the distance, waves crashed against a cliffside. But peace, as always, came with a cost. Scattered nearby were the surviving Ultimates. Blade, Ghost Rider, Thor, Wolverine, Daredevil, Hulk, now weakened and reverted. Tony Stark 2000s, Doctor Strange, Wong, and a groggy Nick Fury. They lay in the field, disoriented but breathing. "What is this place?" Wolverine growled, unsheathing his claws cautiously as he looked around. Strange slowly rose, the edges of his cloak frayed from the last spell he cast. I think he hesitated, eyes scanning the physics of this world, the light, the tone of the air itself. "I think we made it out of the Beyonder's prism, but this isn't our Earth." Tony stepped forward, examining a nearby tree with hexagonal bark and faint traces of alien circuitry embedded in its trunk. "You're saying this is Earth, but not our Earth?" Strange nodded. "It feels like a cleaner timeline. Organized, too clean." Fury adjusted his coat, walking uphill toward a nearby ridge. As he crested it, his eye widened. Guys, you might want to see this." The Ultimates followed one by one. Down below sat the ruins of a once proud compound. The MCU Avengers facility, unmistakable. Bombed out, overgrown with vines, but still recognizable. Shattered Quinjet wings jutted out from a collapsed hangar. The remnants of the A logo hung like a ghost from a crumbled facade. "This is their Earth," Cap muttered. "Theirs." "Earth 616, Strange confirmed grimly. "The prime timeline." Blade clenched his fists. "What the hell happened here?" And then came the voice. "Not what happened," it said gently, "but when." From the shadows of a twisted support beam, he stepped forward. A man, battered, a red and blue suit, worn and scorched, the familiar webs, a torn mask hanging at his side, and eyes that had seen too much. "Peter?" Cap asked, but not his Peter. It was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Raimi's Spider-Man, alive. He gave a tired smile. "It's been a long time." The group stared stunned. Peter Parker, who'd sacrificed himself at the climax of the machine reign, was alive. "I thought you were gone," Strange whispered. Peter nodded slowly. "So did I." He explained. When he unleashed the full power of the Enigma Force, the universe should have folded around him, but something or someone pulled him away at the last second. He found himself stranded in Earth 616, this timeline, moments before an event they had never seen. The complete collapse of the MCU Avengers. "Ultron Infinity," Peter muttered, "was only the beginning. Something worse hit this Earth after you escaped the Beyonder's final move. It's been months, maybe years. Time's weird here." He motioned toward the ruined compound. "Whatever happened, it erased nearly everyone. The world moved on, but it's fractured." "Fractured how?" Fury asked. Peter didn't answer with words. He stepped aside, and behind him, standing in the mist like a broken statue, was Steve Rogers, the MCU Steve Rogers. But this Steve looked wrong, frozen in a time stasis field, his shield embedded in his chest, eyes open, unmoving, preserved like a monument or a warning. Wolverine whispered, "What the hell is this place?" Peter turned back toward the horizon, where the sun sat unnaturally still in the sky. "There's something else here," he said quietly, "watching us, shaping this world. I've seen fragments, echoes, multiversal residue. I think someone is keeping this world in stasis, controlled. Maybe it's the last real world left." Strange frowned. "Or maybe this is the next battleground." As the Ultimates moved deeper into the compound ruins, Strange found a surviving relic, a time crystal, embedded in a containment field built by 616's Tony Stark. When he activated it, a projection appeared. Not a message from the past, but a live pulse. A warning encoded from beyond the known universe. The Beyonder's voice echoed once more, not with menace, but with judgment. "You survived my crucible. Now you are my proof. They will come for you, The Prime Defenders. Their world is sacred. You are contamination. But remember this, I made you stronger. Let them test your worth. As night fell on the ruined Earth, 616, the Ultimates gathered in the destroyed war room of the old Avengers compound. Outside, the wind grew colder, and somewhere, deep beneath the Earth, a vibration pulsed like a heartbeat in the dark. The Prime Avengers were gone. The world didn't know it yet, but soon it would. Morning came not with warmth, but with surveillance. As the golden haze of dawn spilled across the broken skyline of the old MCU Avengers facility, dozens of black drones emerged silently from the tree lines and clouds. Each one bore the insignia of SWORD, the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division, Earth 616's last remaining defense initiative. High above, a SWORD satellite pulsed with artificial intelligence, its radar fixed on the anomaly now sitting in the ruins, the Ultimates. Within moments, containment protocols activated. A high-frequency pulse struck the compound, erecting a dampening field. The Ultimates felt it immediately. Thor's lightning fizzled on his fingertips. Strange's cloak tensed in resistance. Ghost Rider's chain slithered back into its ethereal form. "We're being boxed in," Stark muttered, watching the sky fill with metallic hawks. Then they arrived. From the shattered entrance of the facility, a new strike force emerged. Black-armored agents of the Prime Timeline, all wearing retrofitted Iron Legion gear. Among them stood the surviving version of Earth 616's Tony Stark, older, colder, and weaponized like never before. His face was partially cybernetic, a remnant of whatever apocalyptic war had scarred this world. At his side, Shuri, now leading Wakandan science and defense initiatives, Kate Bishop holding Clint's bow, Yelena Belova in the Black Widow's colors. These were the last flickers of the Avengers' legacy, wary, battle-hardened, and skeptical of any unknown presence. Stark raised a gauntlet, scanning the Ultimates with emotionless precision. "You're not from here," he said flatly. "And you're not the man I remember," the 2000's Tony replied, stepping forward. For a long beat, the two men stared at each other. Two versions of genius, both forged by loss, both haunted by failure. But the years had made Earth 616 Stark a cynic. "You're a threat," he declared. "Multiversal contagion. I don't care what war you escaped from. You brought it here." "We didn't bring anything," Wolverine growled, stepping up. "We ran. From something worse than anything you've seen." "You always run," Yelena spat, lowering her visor. "Enough," Captain America barked. "We're not here to fight. We've lost everything. You think we wanted to be in your world?" Shuri, scanning her wrist pad, spoke calmly. Their dimensional signatures confirm divergence from pre-incursion Earths. Their molecules are not fully synced with this reality. Prolonged exposure could cause collapse. "In other words," Stark said, aiming his gauntlet, "either you leave, or we make you." The Ultimates stood their ground. Thor summoned a small bolt of lightning, defying the dampener. Ghost Rider's eyes lit ablaze. Hulk, despite his weakened state, snarled and flexed. Stark didn't hesitate. "Alpha Protocol," he commanded. The strike force surged forward, repulsors flaring, and in a heartbeat, the old world clashed with the new. Iron Man versus Iron Man, blasts colliding like supernovae. Ghost Rider's hellfire burned through drones, only for Shuri's sonic grenades to neutralize him momentarily. Wolverine tore through metal soldiers, but was knocked back by a gravity field Kate deployed. Strange cast a spell to break the dampener, only for a temporal anchor to bind him mid-cast. It wasn't war, it was survival. Raimi's Spider-Man, watching from the rafters above, dropped into the chaos to protect Cap. "This is insane," he shouted. "We're on the same side." "No," 616 Stark growled. "You're on borrowed time." Then came the tremor. The Earth shifted, time bent, space distorted. Everyone stopped fighting. From the broken sky, a tear opened. Not a portal, not magic, something deeper, something impossible. A voice echoed not through the air, but through their minds. "Children of two worlds, your struggle is my design." A flash of white consumed the battlefield, and in its place, a throne, suspended in midair, infinite, made of prisms and stardust. Seated upon it, a figure of pure white energy, dressed in human form but glowing with unknowable power. The Beyonder. You wonder why you've endured, why your world broke and theirs bled, why heroes died and gods screamed. He raised a hand, and in his palm danced images from Avengers 2001 to 6, Doom's betrayal, Kang's invasion, Galactus's reckoning, Thanos' crusade, Ultron's machine reign. "I planted each of them," the Beyonder whispered, "not to destroy you, but to prepare you." He looked at the Ultimates. "You were my experiment, then at the Prime Avengers, and you were my proof." Everyone stood frozen. "I needed a champion," Beyonder said, "a universe worthy of reshaping all others, and now you must face each other, not to kill, but to decide." Stark 616 asked, "Decide what?" Beyonder smiled. "Who will inherit everything?" The sky split. Above the earth that had borne witness to gods, monsters, and men torn apart by purpose, now hung something ancient and final. The Beyonder, his form not made of flesh, but of shimmering thought and cosmic fracture, descended into the atmosphere like a rift in logic itself. Not light, not shadow. Something else entirely. Something in between. Below him, the Ultimates stood, the last survivors of their world, the last protectors of this one. Spider-Man, alive, barely. Ghost Rider, seared and scorched, but still burning. Wolverine, scarred but defiant. Hulk, now fully transformed back into the green Goliath he once was, smashing through metal and madness alike. Daredevil, blind yet more focused than ever. Blade, his blades gleaming with the blood of 1,000 battles. Doctor Strange, battered but calling upon the last shreds of forgotten magic. And behind them, echoes, memories, what once was. The Beyonder hovered over the battlefield where Ultron Infinity's broken remains glimmered in cosmic ash. He gazed down with neither malice nor compassion, just curiosity, like a child watching ants build, burn, and rebuild again. "I am impressed," he said. His voice reverberated across dimensions. "You passed the trials I designed. Doom, Kang, Galactus, Thanos, even the Machine God. You endured them all." Spider-Man, bloodied and bruised, stared up. "Why us?" The Beyonder did not smile. "Because you weren't supposed to. Your universe was the control group, a thread left uncut. I watched, I waited. You refused to bend." "Then what do you want now?" Thor asked, stepping forward. His armor in tatters, lightning still pulsing beneath his skin. "Another test?" "No," said the Beyonder, tilting his head. "The final one." Without warning, the world shifted. The ground beneath their feet was gone. The stars blinked out, reality inverted. Suddenly, they stood in a massive arena, like the Roman Colosseum forged in the heart of the multiverse. Around them, statues of fallen gods, corpses of realities long erased, each one a universe that failed his games. The Ultimates were alone. Then, they weren't. From the opposite side of the arena, another portal opened, and from it stepped the MCU Avengers. Captain America as he was before Civil War, Iron Man in his prime, Thor with both eyes and both convictions. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk. But there was something off. They didn't move like people. They moved like puppets. The Beyonder spoke again. One final lesson. When tested against your reflections, will your truth hold? It began. The two teams clashed, not as enemies, but as symbols, ideals. Rage against control. Raimi's Spider-Man fought MCU's Spider-Man, a battle of raw will versus youthful optimism. Blade faced Black Widow, their techniques a mirrored elegance of shadow. Wolverine met Hawkeye, claw versus precision. Ghost Rider burned through Iron Man's tech with hellfire, forcing Stark to adapt on the fly. Doctor Strange engaged his counterpart in a war of illusions and multiversal theory. The fights raged not for victory, but for meaning. And slowly, something broke. Not the Ultimates, but the puppets. MCU Cap hesitated. This isn't me. Thor's hammer slowed mid-swing. Black Widow looked into Blade's eyes and saw not an enemy, but a survivor. The Beyonder began to falter. "Stop them," he ordered. But the puppets were waking up. Spider-Man dropped to one knee, exhausted. "We're not broken." Doctor Strange raised his hand and spoke the final spell. A forbidden weave of chaos and clarity. "You tested us, Beyonder, but we were never yours." The arena fractured. The heroes, both MCU and Ultimates, turned their focus to the one who manipulated it all. For the first time, the Beyonder looked afraid. "Impossible." "No," Hulk growled, stepping forward. "Inevitable." Together they struck. Lightning, web, magic, fury. Justice. Reality exploded, not in destruction, but in healing. The Beyonder's presence unraveled like silk in a storm. And then, silence. They stood in a field, a real one. Sunlight warmed their skin. The sky was blue. A bird chirped. They had won. Raimi's Spider-Man stepped forward, clutching his side. "It's over?" Captain America nodded. "It's over." Doctor Strange looked to the stars. "For now." 1 month later, the Ultimates stood on a rooftop overlooking New York. The city was rebuilding, again. The world didn't remember everything, but they remembered enough. Tony Stark handed Cap a device. Multiversal containment. You'll be safe wherever you end up. Cap looked at his team. "We'll find our place." Spider-Man turned to Hulk, to Wolverine, to Ghost Rider. "We always do." With a shimmer of light, the Ultimates vanished into the void. Heroes not born of this earth, but forged by trials no other could endure.